Mike Gill, State of Corruption. Before I get into my radio interview on ESPN nationally, I want to just bring to your attention what's happening over the last weekend. Voter fraud, New Hampshire. It's national news. Now, who told you that these corrupt bastards have been doing this right along? You didn't see the video with Gardner, the Secretary of State? Of course it's corrupt. And the reason why it is corrupt is because they need to keep the corrupt people in place. If you put an honest person in as the governor or senator, they go to jail. Get it? So it's got to be their own. Why do you think Aon is not screaming bloody murder that they fixed the Senate race? Shaheen only leveraged Aaron Day for $20 million, and the drug dealers only threatened to murder him. Would you like to investigate that? Along with the busloads. Okay, but what I'm telling you, we're on this, and we are giving this to Mr. Trump. Now, the next thing I want you to know is take a look. Delka recused himself. Do you remember Fade to Black? Judge Moore. He only put my son, who was the cameraman, in jail. He wants to recuse himself too. He says he's buddies with Alex Walker, which he is. The only difference is they're going down and they're all bailing out. Okay, now you're going to see a quick video, more of a radio interview, what I had with Roger Stein. Roger Stein is the voice of racing, the hour of racing across the country. Roger called me up. Now, I don't know how many people you've noticed, but they're having all kinds of arrests in Pennsylvania. Right, isn't that so? My friends from Pennsylvania, that I promised to help you fight this corruption. When I caught Penn National, organized crime, working with these trainers, fixing races and wiring money offshore, making millions. Well, guess what? I put it all in a narrative in 2010. I could have put them all in jail in 2 weeks. And I'll show you a couple videos that I've done along the way, indicating everyone that was guilty, including the FBI cover-up. Guess what? They're on the radio saying Mike Gill's right. He's always been right on this. Just like I'm right about the corruption in this state. I was right about the corruption with horse racing in the state of Pennsylvania and its public officials. These bastards were going to go into Salem, New Hampshire. Organized crime. The fucking mob. Watch the video, Married to the Mob. I only caught the wires that went into Wynn Casino that they were buying the swampland from the goddamn mafia. It was on the front page of the Boston Globe. Now, who caught those wires? If you watch Married to the Mob, you've seen it. Penn National was going to buy Rockingham. You were going to bring in organized crime in here. You were going to bring in more drugs. You see, that's what brings through the racetrack. And nobody loves thoroughbred racing more than I do. I'm the world fucking champion of it. But I'm not going to bring organized crime into New Hampshire that's already on their knees. And the reason why they were coming here, you had a friendly government of the corrupt. Your gambling commissioner is Mike Gatsis, the brother of Ted Gatsis. They had it run. They own, Aganos owns all the charitable gaming in the state. They were going to plug themselves into Penn National. Gatsis is in the horse racing too. Except for I call these people out. And you're going to hear on ESPN Radio. My other three shows on ESPN Radio were the highest rating shows they ever had. Let's see how this one will do. But this is an indication of what I'm telling you with the corruption in the state of New Hampshire. The people in Pennsylvania are seeing it and live with it, and it's coming together, and they are arresting them. And I am telling you, they're going to arrest these people in New Hampshire too. We get a new day coming. A day of justice. I am going to be knocking on these judges' doors. I am going to go to those banking commissioners. I am going to the DRA. We are going to put them in jail. Isn't that right, Mr. Trump?
We've had guests on the show that nobody else dared bring on, and not just that. We didn't just give them a voice. We didn't laugh at them. We listened. Like, how about this? How about Mike Gill? How about all the people that wish they would have had the balls to put him on when we did, and let him have at it. And people going, is he crazy? No, he wasn't crazy. Guess what? Everybody else was. And so I went back to the well one time more. And I called my friend Mike Gill, and I said, Mike, I'm not doing so hot. Can you help me out and do a little radio? And he said, sure. So we called him, and he's here. Michael Gill. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Roger. It's nice to hear from you.
Mike, we read about Pennsylvania, and it's almost never good. I guess there's other ways to say that. They keep in the news. They got all kinds of deals going on. And you know the question of the week, Mike? I know this will make you laugh, even though very little to laugh about some days. Murray Rojas. The quiz would go, who is Murray Rojas? Everyone thinks Murray Rojas is a guy. But that's just not true. Now, the ante continues to go up. The feds, looking to make a deal now, are willing to put up over $5 million. This is how bad it's gotten. You said it was going to happen, Mike. It just took some patience. What's the latest, Mike? What's going on back there?
Well, what it took was a new administration. That was part of it. The reason why this has been going on, I wrote in a narrative in 2010, I could have wrapped the whole thing up in 2 weeks. And this corruption would have went through even the politicians in the state of Pennsylvania. You know, we had a time bomb from the beginning. We had a starving racetrack that the people on that racetrack learned to cheat to live. It's just how, when you're running for $1,800 or $3,000 a pot, trust me, that's how they're all surviving. Then you put corrupt politicians, and then the power of casino gambling, and there it was. It was a package that was ready to explode. Now, what I caught was in 2010, I brought to the FBI. They knew I nailed this down, and you know what happened? They found out the depth of the corruption, and they started covering up rather than arresting these people. So why 7 years? Because I exposed 2 of their cover-ups. So in other words, what they're doing now is, now they're afraid. Now after 7 years, some of these people have to go down. Mary Rojas is a bug in this. Understand? She is the smallest of the small. What we should be looking at is, why did the feds cover this up? It was a legal wire fraud. That these races were being fixed and the wire frauds were going over to other parts of the world. And they were using Penn National's wire service. You see? The casino was in on it. And I haven't been proved wrong yet. And since these days I've been fighting the corruption in Pennsylvania. I've attacked state corruption. And you can go stateofcorruption.org. I turned around and said the Senate race in New Hampshire was fixed last week. President Trump just said it today. Roger?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm Mike, I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to give our listeners a little advance warning about what else is coming. Better Bob had mentioned that they seem to be the feds seem to be being serious about this. I don't see Murray Rojas as someone who treated all of her horses with drugs. I think this is kind of a...
Yes, she is. Oh, no.
No, she is.
No, she was that person, Roger. But you know what? So wasn't most of them. She wasn't the controlling factor. They own the test box. Stephanie Beatty, who was the president of the HPPA, had 2 of her grooms working in the spit box. They were quite literally testing their own horses. You have to understand, this was a marriage corruption with the track. That's why when I went to the state of Pennsylvania, It was their security. It was the people there who told them to back off. No, I've done those videos. I've talked to those investigators. And it was always back to the Fed. So in telling the future, is what you're asking, we're going to go through a lot of pain. But this might be the moment that saves horse racing. I mean, if we're going to build horse racing back, we've got to eliminate this corruption. We've got to have people trust horse racing again. We're losing it because we have lost their trust because we've earned that. We had cheated. These people, these tracks have been putting races together. These trainers have been cheating.
Mike, what's
Okay.
yeah, Mike, listen,
Yeah.
My connection is awful, but what's next, Mike? What's going to happen here? I mean, look, this has been going on for a while. You made so many predictions, and so many of them have come true. What's going to happen? Why are they still racing? And who's going to go down? I mean, let's face it, somebody's going to have to take the rap here.
Well, I'll tell you what. I can tell you exactly if they play it right to the end. Now, and it's potentially that I think they have to, and they look like they're committed to doing this now for their own sake. See, now the feds are going to protect themselves. So this is what I believe. You're going to see multiple trainers, Stephanie Beatty, Todd Beatty, the HBPA. Let's not forget, I had a witness in the HBPA. You remember what happened to that witness? He wound up drowned in a river. Right. In like November. So what you're going to do is you're going to see now them getting into the HPA. Then you're going to see them getting into the ownership and management of Penn National. You're going to see the basis of these people are organized crime. That was the principal ownership. So you're going to see this riddle back through to the casino. You're going to see multiple trainers, more than you can imagine. And then from those trainers, you will get corrupt politicians and public officials and judges. If they keep rolling this back, and that's what's going to save racing. And it might just save a few souls.
Do you really believe that it's going to clean up racing, at least in Pennsylvania?
Yes, it'll be like dominoes, because it's not just all Pennsylvania. You can start by some of these small tracks. You put this when we had offshore gaming. You can't give those kind of people that kind of an incentive and expect them not to take it. So I do. I think it'll have a rippling effect. I think it's also the administration. I can tell you this. I've been in communications with Trump's people for a year and a half, and he is using my stuff. I called the fixed Senate race. He just went to the public with it within days. I am telling you my goal is to steer President Trump when I deal with the state of corruption and explain to him, for instance, the corruption in Pennsylvania. And I'm going to ask President Trump to help horse racing and turn around and say that this is tied into the corruptions within the states. So and I'll tell him, listen, horse racing has a lot to do with immigration. For people who have been in the horse racing business as long as I have, and you, Roger, you know that the backside of a racetrack has a lot of people who shouldn't be there. They shouldn't be here. So in other words, you're going to have to trust these people, or it may be a way into this country. And if we can think about it, don't think a terrorist group wouldn't have thought about it.
Before I get added to that list, let me just say this. It's my experience, nearly 40 years, that before I would say people that don't belong here, I beg to differ. I think these are some very good, hard-working people that want the job, that are willing to work at it. As a matter of fact, for nearly 40 years, I've said, give them some living conditions where they can actually live and not just exist. Give them a room, let them pay a couple $100 a month, let them have a restroom inside of the room so that when it's 20 degrees outside, they don't have to walk out in a bathrobe, freezing their buns off.
And who are they going to complain to?
Well, listen, I'm not saying, who's going to go do that work? That's what I'd like to know. There's an old saying, Mike, if all you have to do to shut down the racetrack is to get about 5 guys with bullhorns running barn to barn yelling immigration, you'd clean the place out. What are you going to do? Are you going to have trainers like a Jude Feld or, some of these other guys that are going to take care of the horses? You got to be kidding me. They wouldn't know the first thing to do. They barely know which end eats. And so without these workers that come from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, and everywhere else, the racetrack wouldn't exist. I mean, half of the reason that these guys are as wealthy, these trainers as wealthy as they are, is because they have laborers that are willing to work day and night, taking excellent care of these horses. But that's a whole other thing. I just wonder, how long will it continue to go on, and why haven't they completely shut down racing for a year to clean it up and start over?
Roger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't hear?
Well,
I hope you heard me.
Roger, I'd like to say, I agree with you 100% about immigration with these people on the racetrack. My closest friends that I've made on the racetrack were people from Mexico. Listen, I'm 100% behind you. But the people that are taking this information, the racetracks, they're paying for licensing. When I called that out in Pennsylvania, they arrested 5 people. One of them was a serial murderer. Okay? So in other words, but I am 100% with you with who would do that. I mean, and who would do it better. They love what they're doing. I'm with you 100%. But this is going to, as far as shut down racing, this is not going to shut it down. But it's going to take it back a couple steps. And in those steps is where we're going to find a foundation and build back the interest of horse racing. The stuff with what happened in Gulfstream, the race that they just put together, you can feel there's an interest of horse racing that can go on all year round. But we've got to build it with honesty.
Bill, I know this is going to sound a little anticlimactic, but where is all this going to leave you, Mike? I mean, what are you doing these days?
I'm fighting 100%. I sleep in 2-hour intervals. I'm on State of Corruption. I've got 55,000 followers. My last 2 videos got over 2 million views. My goal, I got caught in the trap. What I did was I saw the corruption by having insight, which is what made me wealthy in business. And then when I thought that people would come forwards and the feds and so forth. And when they didn't, I seen more of a need to keep exposing it because the stakes got higher. So I got caught in the game where the order of its importance has been well beyond me. So I pretty much live in isolation and on the videos.
Do me a favor. Let everybody know where they can watch these videos if they are so inclined. Where do they go to check all these out? stateofcorruption.org. And I run multiple racehorse videos that you've seen that I put together a year ago, 2 years ago, telling you what was going to happen. I was interviewing the bookies. I was interviewing the bookies who were in jail. I knew how they did it, why they did it, how they got protected. I even called the FBI agents out by name who was covering it up. So if you go to the website, it's about State of Corruption, and if you go to the library, you'll see the horse racing videos. And look at those and tell me what's happening now, if anything's out of place. Bob, John, if there's anything you want to ask Mike Gill, do it now, because, our days are numbered, guys.
I've had 3 murders attempts. I did an interview with a gentleman that's on the website that was hired to murder me. Now, if you question this guy's background, he went to jail for biting a guy's nose off and cutting his ears off. All right? That's how
Mike,
interesting
I have a
things are.
question. This is Better Bob here. When you started racing at Penn National and they told you that in order for them to allow you in, you had to use their jockeys, I mean, that had to be like something from out of the Twilight Zone. So it couldn't have been much of a surprise to you when the feds took 4 of them out in handcuffs, including a clocker that just made up workouts out of thin air.
Surprised? I wrote years before that who they were and what they were doing. The surprise has always been is why they haven't been doing it early. I mean, the real question is, why didn't the feds shut them down? Why did the feds let them operate for these last years when they knew they were dirty? Because I told them.
Well, wish you all the best. We're going to be in touch with you at least until we're off the air, buddy. So you take care of yourself. Stay safe. You've done it so far.
I know. I tell you what, though, it's getting harder, as you know. Okay, Roger, it was nice.
Hang in there, my man. Thanks for taking time. Appreciate it.
Bye, brother.
Mike Gill has been our guest.